YOLO. Yes, you see the title, correct. I did not accidentally click the 0 too many times. I am $210,000 in debt. Or, to be more precise, I took out $210,000 of debt in December of 2024. And no, it wasn't to buy a house. I did one of the two things that everyone says to never do when it comes to investing, which is taking out loans, using leverage, using debt, using other people's money. The second thing that everyone always says to never do is to put all your eggs in one basket. You're supposed to diversify and ensure that your risk level is low. Well, this may not be a surprise, but since I already broke the first rule that I mentioned before, I also broke the second one. I took out $210,000 of debt and invested it all into one thing. I know what you might be thinking. Oh, he has the hot scoop. He knows what the next Bitcoin is, and he's about to blow up and become a millionaire. I can tell you that's definitely not the case. I did not have any kind of secret insider information on what I was investing in. I had invested in this one thing for about a year beforehand. I watched it rise and fall, mostly fall, and collected dividends along the way. But the reason I invested so heavily into it is, well, there's actually a couple of factors, and I'll go ahead and break them down for you now. So reason number one, and bear with me because I know this won't sound like it makes much sense, but I'll explain. It was actually a safe decision for me to make. Now, that's a large amount of money, or an obscene amount of money to take out as loans. So, how is it safe? Well, at this point in my investing career, I had already made my first $100,000. I had spent the previous 2 to 3 years just completely grinding, living as frugally as I possibly could, and saving and investing almost every penny I could get my hands on. So I had about half the money in collateral. So if anything was to go wrong, I would then only owe about $110,000. Now that, combined with the fact that I have a pretty good paying job, meant that within probably another 2 years, I could pay off all the debt and I wouldn't have any kind of massive repercussions. The only thing that would happen is I'd break even and be back at square one at $0, and it'd be, 6 years later. If I didn't have that first $100,000 already saved up and invested, I would never have done something as crazy as taking out $210,000 in debt. I mean, even saying it now, it doesn't really feel real to me because it's just such a large number. I've never had that kind of money in my life. I have, I'd say, a much higher risk tolerance than the average person. But even then, being able to know that I'd pay it off and have collateral, falling back to square one and losing all my progress would have absolutely sucked. And technically, it could still suck, because I don't know how this is going to play out. Reason number two, I saw a really big opportunity. See, I'd been invested in this thing for the previous year, like I had said, watching it rise and fall, and I had noticed that it seems to follow a pattern every single month. Now, it does have the NAV, the net asset value, decrease right before and during paying its dividend, because it pays such an insanely high dividend. Then over the course of the month, it will regrow its share price. Not as high as it was, but high enough that this pattern can repeat over and over, and we haven't had any reverse stock splits. So learning that, I figured I could sell call options and negate the NAV erosion with the actual option premium. That way I take the dividends that it would make on such an obscene amount of money and use that to pay off the loan. Reason number three, which this would fall under a classification of a macro event or a macro indicator. But the third reason is President Trump had been singing the praises of tariffs left, right, and center, and I knew he would probably implement them at least 1 to 2 months after getting into office in 2025. I was 100% sure that these tariffs would cause a massive drop in the market, and if I was able to get my hands on a large amount of money now and buy into this stock that has a predictable pattern, I'd be able to sell a deep in the money call option for when the market was going to drop and then collect massive premium. Now, it's almost impossible to predict when the market's going to drop or anything like that, but I wasn't really banking on any kind of financial knowledge of the market. I was really more focused on the fact that the market is not an efficient place. It is full of people, and people are highly emotional and reactive. So I figured that once the tariffs would be dropped, everyone would freak out and the market would crash, even though businesses and fundamentals had hardly changed, because they wouldn't have had enough time to have felt the effect of the tariffs. And sure enough, it crashed almost 15 to 1600 points. I had sold deep in the money call options and made an obscene amount of money that 1 month alone, which has helped me to super speed up the paying off of the debt. I know I'm not out of the woods yet, and things could change on a dime. And debt itself is dangerous. The Bible describes it as the borrower becoming slave to the lender. So, my current goal is to pay off the debt as quickly as I can. That way, if anything was to happen, I'd then have my own money, and I wouldn't be stuck at square one back at $0 like I was preparing for. I tend to prepare for the worst and pray for the best. And most of the time, reality falls somewhere in between those two. The second to last reason why I took this large of a loan and bit the bullet and went for it is because I have a safety net. I would be at zero. I wouldn't be at negative dollars after a couple of years. I would be able to rebuild. It would just slow down my plans and my progress. But even if I lost my job, I have friends and family whose couches I could crash on until I get back up on my feet. And the final reason that I took out the $210,000 and invested it all into one stock, which I know I've been incredibly vague and haven't named the stock yet. I promise I will tell you what the name of the stock is by the end of the video. But I have incredibly large dreams and goals. I have huge plans and I intend to see them come to fruition. And in order to achieve these kind of things, I have to step all the way outside of my comfort zone. In order to see these plans come to fruition, I have to make bold and confident moves. I can't stay and try and play it safe all the time. The kind of man that I want to be is one who is courageous and takes chances, who knows that even if he fails, it's not the end of the world. One who has full faith that no matter what happens, God will have his back. That's the kind of man that I want to be. And that's the kind of man who could achieve my goals and dreams. So in order to become that kind of man, I need to step outside of my comfort zone. My comfort zone would never allow me to take out debt to invest. So that's the exact thing that I knew I needed to do. I took out $210,000 in December of 2024. And now, at the time of this recording, it's just about the very end of May of 2025. And I only have $176,000 of debt remaining. I've almost paid off $40,000. So I'm making really good progress. But if you're interested to see how this plays out, if it all blows up in my face, or if I end up achieving my goals and becoming the first millionaire in my family, then make sure that you hit the subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. because this is one wild ride and you're not going to want to miss it. And I promised I'd tell you the stock, and I will tell you it, but this is for informational and educational storytelling purposes. Please do your own due diligence when investing in something this high risk. But the stock is Coney, C-O-N-Y. With that, enjoy the final kill cam, and I'll catch you on the flip side.